So I'm reading a book, and it's kind of interesting because it's kind of going against a lot of what I personally believe, and a lot of what I believe a lot of other people, like especially in modern day times, believe. But it questions therapy. This is called Bad Therapy: Why the Kids Aren't Growing Up, and it's kind of this girl like in this cocoon looking thing. I don't even know what you'd call it. Glass case, Beauty and the Beast style, like the rose. But it poses an interesting question. Honestly, the real reason why I started this book is because I was just scrolling through TikTok one day, just like whatever. And then I don't watch Joe Rogan's podcast, but a clip popped up. And it was talking about um I don't know if I can find it, but I remember like exactly what they said. Basically, Joe Rogan, he says, quote unquote, paraphrasing here, obviously, but he's like, talking about your problems all the time literally just make them grow. And then the author of the book, she chimes in and she's like, yes, like, it's just not helpful. And like, there's so many things that are good for your mental health that we don't really talk about. Like, doing chores is good for your mental health, running errands, like working, like so many things, but like, we're forced to talk about that, dwell in it, and it's supposedly supposed to make things better. So, I want to go into this with an open mind. And I obviously haven't finished it, but I think it's pretty much just going to go into like different areas of therapy, like the more that I read. So I think I have a general gist of like what's really going on. And like if you read like an academic book, like that's kind of like research, it just kind of delves into like different areas like as you go through the book. Like you're not gonna see like much progression, I guess, if that makes sense. Just more informative like the longer you read. So I think I pretty much got the gist of the book, and I want to talk about it. So basically, when she's talking about bad therapy, she's talking about like our generation, like modern times, is basically so centered around being so avoidant to any sort of conflict, any sort of, bad situation, any sort of anxiety provoking situation. And anything that kind of fits out of uniform, something must be wrong. And she says that it's bleeding in a lot into like our school system. So like if you have a kid who's like kind of restless in the classroom, I think this is like the perfect example that it's like, oh, like instead of saying like maybe they're just like a hyperactive kid, they're just like, oh, ADHD, like go get them checked out. And it's kind of interesting because I always had like the opposite growing up. Obviously, like kids are, how old am I? I'm 24, but like there's a new generation of kids, and like mental health has such like a huge importance hold on us, especially now. I think it really started to come into fruition like after COVID, like the whole lockdown thing. Like you really just start to see it like everywhere, like mental health, mental health, mental health. But it's like, what is this gonna do to like future generations of kids, right? Um, and for me, when I was young, I still pretty much consider myself like a part. Like I'm Gen Z, so I grew up with Gen Z, and I kind of just got told like, I mean, my family they don't like not believe in therapy, but like it's kind of more just like a suck it up attitude. And she talks about that in the book as well, like these new therapeutic techniques that they're doing where everyone's just kind of talking about things and talking about their problems, all this. Like, it's, I think her real conclusion with that is like, it's not really doing anything to help you. It's pretty much just kind of putting you in this like little box that you're constantly thinking about your problems. You're constantly thinking of like what's wrong with the world, what's wrong with you, your relationship with others, what conflicts have you had, what um previous traumas have you gone through, like, and you're just like constantly just reliving it rather than like strategies to help you like get out of that. And she does mention too, like, good therapy, like there's certain ones. I know I've been to a therapist, they've done cognitive behavioral therapy, where basically you're just kind of trying to change your thinking patterns. Or there's like other ones, like, I haven't read about this in the book, but somatic therapy, I believe it's more physical, like you're trying to get like your emotions out. Think like a rage room, that would be like somatic therapy. um like releasing all these emotions and anger or sadness or whatever, frustration, and letting it go that way instead of like talk therapy. Because I feel like a lot of people, before I knew what therapy was actually, I thought that pretty much was all therapy was, is like you just talk to someone. And honestly, I've had that type of therapy, but like I still would rather just like go talk to a friend, like, rather than like a therapist and just like, like, sure, you can like trauma dump like all these things that like your regular friends, like, it might be a lot to just like talk about, but like, when I was doing talk therapy, I was not getting really any advice or way to like move on from it. And that's what it talks about in the book, is like when you talk about these things, you're kind of giving them life. And when you give them life, they don't go away. Like your problems, they're going to stay. So, like, the difference between bad and good therapy is like good therapy is supposed to get you out of therapy. Bad therapy, it keeps you in it and it can make things so much worse. And by so much worse, I mean, what's the word? She has a word in here. I think it's iatrogenic. Yeah, iatrogenic risks, which basically just means um to anything that you're doing. The best example would be like if you're going to the hospital getting a surgery, they give you certain risk factors that come along with your surgery. It's not just going to always be like, like ready for surgery and you're going to be out and everything's going to be fine. Like there are risks to things, and iatrogenic risks are risks as well that come around with therapy. And the main ones are going to be like rumination and um I know rumination for sure. I think there's like another one, but I can't think of it. Rumination just basically means like you're like depressed, always thinking about like the past, like what you could have done, things like that. Um, and it also just, again, like it keeps you from progressing forward. Like good therapy is supposed to get you out of therapy. Bad therapy keeps you in it and doesn't really progress you further, in my opinion. And that's not the book saying that. So the way she kind of talks about like, obviously it's like bad therapy, but it's like why the kids aren't growing up. Basically, for a lot of school systems now, therapy is just like very like just widely used for like everyone. And she kind of argues that like you don't, like, it shouldn't just be for everyone, especially when it's like um people are like fine. They're gonna start thinking horribly about their lives if they start just like talking about problems and like they're fine. Um it's more like you should seek it out like if you need help. And I noticed, at least from my experience, like when I didn't really necessarily know what was going wrong and like I just kind of felt like, things were just a little hazy, like I didn't feel like therapy really helped me. I think I was able to be like honest about things. I also worked with a student therapist, so that really, really, really takes into account like they're just not gonna know like exactly how to help you. Um, versus whenever I had like actual like really significant problems that like I needed intervention with. Um, thank God, like I was able to find like a good therapist, like during that time. Like it's actually like so bad when you feel like you can't like help yourself and you need that help, you know. But everyone like there shouldn't be stigma around it because like we all are supposed to help everyone. Like no one is supposed to just like we're all fed this idea like in America, like everyone's supposed to do everything by themselves, but like no, you should seek out help if you need it. But the book, it just, you know, it just kind of bleeds into everything in our lives. I think it causes us to overthink a lot of things. Like, oh my God, like these bad things happen. Like, what does this mean? Or like, am I traumatized in some way? Like, they kind of instill in people like everyone is a result of their trauma. And then they kind of like try to do things to like keep it away from like to keep children from being like traumatized in a sense. But honestly, that's literally you can protect someone to your best of abilities and life is just gonna life. Like it's life is not for the weak. It's literally like insane some of the things you'll like experience in your life. And no one ever plans on things happening that way. No one. No one plans on like the struggles and the heartache, but you know, we can't just harp on that. Like we have to like keep moving forward instead of looking in the past, you know. So I do think it can really like shed a light on yourself. But I think like implementing it into every aspect of your life, like it really like you're just giving it more power rather than moving on from it. And I think it's, you know, like shadow work and everything, like it's so important to be self-aware and like why you are the way you are and like experiences that you've had. But ultimately, like I think the best therapeutic advice is just to like do things to move forward. Whatever you can do to move forward, like literally. And make steps towards the person you want to be. But I mean, that's just like my own opinion, and I don't know. It's it's interesting though. Like it's an interesting read, and like I would recommend it because it made me think a lot more about therapy as more of a tool that can not only be used for like good but also harm. So that's what I'll say on that. But yeah, I don't know if there's really much else I want to say about it except like if you feel lost in therapy, I my first few therapists, I felt so lost and I did not feel like anything was helping. And after reading this, even just the little bit that I had, I at least feel seen in that way. And I do think it helps you kind of understand what to be looking for when you're looking for therapy. Because you want to be out of therapy, you don't want to be like in therapy. And like if you want to talk to someone, like I think there's like so many avenues. Like even if you feel like you can't, you're kind of in an era of life where you can't really like talk to your friends or your family about it, I think journaling is a good option. And I think talking to God as well is like really important as well. I know I didn't always believe that, but I think talking to God's just like talking to anyone. I think having a relationship with God is really important. And you can also just talk to yourself. Like it's like if you don't have anyone, like one of those three things is like like it's gonna work. It's gonna feel good. And it's kind of hard whenever you trauma dump to someone and you feel like they can't help you. It kind of makes you feel a little worse, not even gonna lie. It has made me feel worse. But if they know what the fuck they're doing, um, it's really helpful. They can, like with my therapy, they like to try different thought techniques, different ways that identifying thoughts, and like how we can kind of not think so black and white or think so um or be like ashamed or be like negative or be just like so many things that like sure, we're not gonna think all happy all the time. I tried doing that and I felt like I literally was an insane person. Like literally, like trying to think positive all the time is gonna make you think that you're like literally like insane, because like it's not real, it's not real. um but yeah, I think um maybe she talks about this later in the book, but like doesn't really go into like the like actual like good therapeutic techniques yet. It's kind of just saying like what everything is bad about. um but she does kind of have like this boomer attitude. I know she is I think she is like a boomer, but she's like, like doing things like the therapeutic way and like going through it and like talking about things all the time and like really not going head to head with your issues. Like it's worse than people who don't talk about it and they move on, they exercise, they connect with family, which makes sense. Like, because those are really good things that you could be doing. Is like, sure, maybe you're not talking about it, but you have a community. You're working on yourself, you're working on your body, you're working on your career, you're working on all these things. And you just hope that in the end, like, things are going to be okay. And, like, you'll be able to move on from it and digest it and process it and not feel so trapped in it. So I mean, that's all she really said on that. She did say there are good types of therapy, and again, it's like good therapy. I keep saying that. But like good therapy is like people trying to like get you out of it rather than keep you in it. Because when they keep you in it, rumination, rumination, you're going to be thinking about your problems all the time. You're going to be constantly just reliving the past and not moving on. Like that's like kind of like the synopsis of that, at least. But yeah, I hope you learned maybe at least something from this video. I think it's an interesting read. Again, haven't read the full thing, but it's really interesting. I love her writing style. And I think it's important to read like different perspectives. Like honestly, cuz like I don't necessarily like agree with a lot of what she's saying, but I also like learned a lot from it. And she's someone who has been in therapy. She's had her kids in therapy, and like she sees like a lot of the issues that particularly um target like new generations with things they're implementing. But a big reason why I'm not really talking about those is because like I know that's like the title of the book, but I just really want to talk about like bad therapy. You know what I mean? Like that's what interests me, because that's why I wanted to talk about it, because I am also someone who's experienced bad therapy and like wonders what really is good therapy. But yeah, I hope you have a good one, and I don't know. I'll see you on the next one, okay?